Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back. I'm Quinn, and today we're gonna do a little unboxing. So, I got an Addi for Christmas. I got the Addi Express King Size, which is a 46 pin machine, so it's the most similar to a Centro. And I thought it would be a lot of fun to unbox this with y'all, just to see what's all in here and use it a little bit to give y'all my first impressions. So let's just get into it. I've moved to the floor because I feel like this is the most open space that I have, so I can really show y'all what is in here. Okay, right on top we have this booklet. Winding instead of knitting is what it's called, and I'm gonna just kind of flip through and see what's in here. Okay, so I just flipped through this book and it looks like there are some, instructions in here going over the basics of the machine and how to use it, but there are also a lot of patterns in here, like step-by-step instructions for patterns. Sweaters, blankets, there's like a rug, there's a ton of things in here. If you've been around in this channel for a while, you have probably heard me talk about how there aren't a ton of Centro or Addi, circular knitting machine patterns out there. There are patterns and tutorials, but there's just not a lot compared to crochet or hand knitting. So this is very exciting that now I don't know how many patterns are in here, but there's a bunch. Next thing in here are these Addi stoppers. There are 2 of them in here, and yeah, so I think what these are is you put them on your machine and they will stop you from knitting past a certain point on your machine. So if you were trying to make a narrower panel, then you would put these on your machine and it would just make it easier for you so you don't accidentally knit past that point that you are trying to stop at. So that's handy. That's a convenient little tool. Okay, this next thing, I think I need to take it out of its little case because I can't exactly tell what it is. It looks like a little crochet hook or a loom pick or something, but it's just kind of hard to tell, so give me a second. Okay, so this looks like it is a loom pick on one side and then sort of like a loom pick crochet hook hybrid thing on the other side. Honestly, I don't really think I'm going to be using this because I already have a loom pick and I like to use my crochet hooks. That's just what I'm used to, but it is nice that the machine comes with this, because the Centro does not come with a loom pick at all. I know the Centro comes with at least 1 darning needle and at least 1 crochet hook, which is nice, but it does not come with a loom pick, and to me, that is an essential tool. Addi is a bit more expensive than the Centro, so I'm glad to see that it's coming with these extra tools that the Centro does not have. It's like you buy the Addi and you're set. You don't have to buy anything else, whereas with the Centro, you get the Centro and then you have to buy some other things to really get the best and most use out of the machine. All right, now I can actually take the machine out of here. So we've got the body of the machine here. So this spins really nicely and I like that. It definitely feels sturdier, more heavy duty. It is heavier than the Centro even without the feet on here, but if I'm being honest, I don't like the handle as much as the Centro handle. We'll see how I feel when I actually make something with this and I have to use this handle for 100 rows or whatever, but I don't know, we'll see. So it comes with 4 legs and they all have this little grippy thing on the bottom of them, which is nice. Maybe I won't need to clamp it down to my table, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the legs in the machine quickly. So on the underside of the machine, you see that's where you screw them in. Really easy. If I remember assembling my Centro, this was a while ago, so maybe I have it wrong, but I remember thinking that the legs were a little challenging to get into the body of the machine, and the suction cups that it comes with, these have these little grippies on the bottom, but the Centro comes with suction cups, and I actually didn't even put them in the feet of my machine because I couldn't get them in there. So the assembly was a little bit more challenging than this seems to be, which I would expect because this machine is quite a bit more expensive. So it should be easier to put together. The pieces should fit together better. So we'll kind of go over the parts of this machine more in depth in a little bit. I just want to finish going through all of the stuff that's in the box, and then we can move on to kind of testing out the machine and going over all of the little parts on it. So I'm gonna set this aside for now. We'll come back to it later. Okay, these look like little clamps for clamping your machine to your table. Again, with the Centro, I had to buy clamps for my machine because the suction cups, I couldn't get them in there, and also I've heard they don't work. And in my opinion, you gotta clamp it down or secure it. You could screw it into a table. I don't care, whatever, but you gotta secure it in some way. So for me and the Centro, that was buying clamps and clamping it to my table. Maybe with the Addi, since the feet have those little grippies on them, maybe it won't slide around and it will be secured enough to the table. I don't know yet. We will test that out later. But it does come with these clamps. That is, again, really nice that it kind of just comes with everything that you could need to get started. Next up, we've got a bunch of replacement needles, which is nice. There are 4 white replacement needles and then 1 black replacement needle. The Centro does not come with anything like that. So again, it's just nice. You have everything that you could possibly need. This little darning needle came in that same little bag with the replacement needles, and you do not even know how pumped I am about this little darning needle. The reason why I am so pumped about it is because I have been looking for a darning needle like this for so long, because this little flipped up end like that, it makes it so much easier to get into your machine and pick up the stitches versus just the straight needles, because you like that, like a spatula. Again, the darning needles that come with the Centro are just the typical straight kind, but this darning needle will work perfectly for the machine. Oh my god, this is made for a circular knitting machine. Okay, this is the last thing in the box. So this is just the manual. I think a lot of the same information that's in this manual is also in this book that we talked about earlier. So, you know, I guess maybe it's sort of redundant, but I'll have to look more and see if it has any other information that this one doesn't have. It's nice that this book that has all the patterns in it does also have the instructions for how to use it, because then you don't have to switch between the two. But yeah, this one's the manual and this one is manual / patterns. Okay, that's everything that was in the box. So now we can move on to just talking about all the bits of this machine and giving it a little try. So this Addi that I have is a 46 pin machine, and the Centro I have is a 48 pin machine. So, you know, just slightly different, but those 2 stitches really aren't gonna make, you know, whatever I'm making that different in size. So that's not really a big deal. The Addi has these 3 black pins at the start of your row. So this is pin 1, 2, and 3. That's a little different than the Centro, which only has 1 different colored pin, and it is the last pin of your row. This is the yarn guide, which just, you know, looks a little bit different than the Centro. And I don't really, I mean, I guess that's the tension guide right here. So only 1 tension hole that you can pick from. You're gonna have to adjust the tension by hand then, versus the Centro, they give you 3 different tension options. Well, and even more, honestly, if depending on the way you thread your yarn through those 3 different holes. So that's a little different. Here is the row counter. This goes up way higher than the Centro does. This goes up to 9,999. Versus the Centro, which I think only goes up to 999. Over here we have our little lever that changes it from circular to panel knitting. On here they call it circular knitting and plain knitting. Plain knitting is just panel knitting. So it's on circular right now, and here's the handle, and I'm just gonna crank the handle of the machine and just see how it goes. I don't have the clamps on my machine right now. I've just set it on my table because I wanted to see how it would do with just the grippies on the bottom of the feet, to see if that would be secure enough for me. Okay, So I just cranked the handle of this machine around like 2 times, and it is very smooth and it works really nicely. You know, I guess I don't know how it knits yet, but I just kind of want to take this one step at a time. When you're going past these first 3 pins here, I'm in the circular setting and it kind of feels like I shouldn't be turning it. Like, here, I'll go around one more time. Like along these white ones, it's so easy to turn the handle. And then as you come across these, just listen to the machine. Do you hear that huge thunk? It's harder to turn too. It feels like I'm not supposed to, but it's in the circular setting, so I think that it's fine, but it does feel like I'm not supposed to do that. That is just gonna take time to get used to, I think, but that is a little bit jarring. At first I thought I maybe broke the machine. I'm gonna change it to the panel setting and I'm gonna go around a bit just to see how it feels. So there we go. And I'll just give it a try. Okay. Again, when we're going across these black pins here, it feels like I'm not supposed to, but now I'm at this final black pin and I cannot turn it any further. So I guess it's just along here, it just gets a little tough. That's just how it is. I also noticed that my row counter went up to 4. It was at 3 and I did a row instead of a round, and it did go up. So maybe this row counter works in the panel setting, unlike the Centro row counter, which would be really cool. I just finished one more row and the row counter went up again. So I think this row counter does work in the panel setting. Now I want to actually try knitting on this machine. I'm not gonna make anything in particular. I just kind of want to test it out. I'm just gonna grab some yarn that I know works well on my Centro and cast on. It's harder to cast on this machine. Again, it's probably just something that I'm gonna have to get used to, but this is kind of getting in my way. Okay, so in the manual, it said to do our yarn like this, which I was thinking earlier that you would put your yarn like that. I suppose you can probably do whatever you want, but in the manual, they did it like this. So I guess I'm gonna do it like that just to be consistent with the instructions. Now that I've started actually knitting, this is moving around just a little bit on my table. It's not too bad, but I personally just don't like having to think about or deal with my machine moving around at all. It's, you know, you have too many other things to think about. Cranking the machine, dealing with the tension, watching all of your stitches to make sure nothing is dropping or tucking. You know, like there's just too much other stuff to pay attention to that I like to know that my machine is totally secure so I don't have to also be paying attention to that. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach the clamps onto here really quick, and then I'm gonna just continue knitting. I'm just gonna make a tube. I'm just gonna use up this yarn I have, and we'll take it off the machine and look at it. So I knit 35 rows, and we are to the point that everyone has been waiting for, the cast off, because I get to use this darning needle. Okay, so we've got this thing off of the machine, and I think it looks pretty good. So as far as knitting this, I mean, it was really easy. I think it worked just as well, if not better, on the Addi than on the Centro. This yarn works really well in the Centro and it worked really well in the Addi. In the future, it'd be interesting to try some yarn that doesn't really work that well in the Centro in the Addi to see, you know, the difference there. But just to start, I wanted to use some yarn that I figured would work pretty easily. Earlier, when I was just kind of testing out the handle right when I took it out of the box, I thought that I wouldn't really like the handle as much as I do the Centro handle, and I have been proven wrong actually. I really enjoyed using the handle on the Addi better than the Centro because this part of the handle, it spins on its own. So you don't have to like grasp it, you can just kind of palm it. Look at that. Just palm it. That's pretty nice, I would say. So I definitely am going to be using this Addi in the future in videos and making patterns and tutorials and stuff like that. But if you would like me to still use the Centro in the future too, let me know, because I can, because I'm not going to get rid of it, but I'm probably going to end up using the Addi a little bit more just because it's a nicer machine. The 48 pin Centro and the 46 pin Addi I think are mostly interchangeable in terms of patterns and tutorials, but if you would still like me to do stuff with the Centro, then just let me know. I will listen to y'all's requests. So I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, then don't forget to give it a like, and if you enjoy Centro and now Addi content, then don't forget to subscribe. I hope you'll have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.